Good morning. It is like 5:55 a.m. on a Saturday. And yeah, that inner voice said, grab the GoPro and go outside. Oh, so here I am. I have been definitely fighting this, which is that I feel I have a voice, and I have a story, and I have things to share that people need to hear. That people need to hear somewhat. It's worth it, even if it's one, to heal. And it's funny. I am like, I'll be careful with the I am, right? I have in the past, I think, been, I don't know about you, but at some points, like the most, it's like highly complicated self-sabotage, right? And it's almost the self-sabotage also that is like framed. It can be really sneaky. I think I made a reel recently and I called it sneaky self-sabotage. And I think this is what I'm about to say is why. I think like it'll often package things, resistance, things that are, again, you can believe whatever you believe, right? In terms of like spiritual resistance or whatever, or just resistance, right? One author talks about it just as resistance. And I love that because some large buzzing creature just went into my head. So when you're in the dark filming with the GoPro, lights attract stuff. Oh my gosh. Lights attract bugs too, right? So the metaphor there, I've struggled and I've resisted shining my light, shining my joy. I was often energetic growing up, right? It got to a point where I started to tame that. And it's because as we heal, as we shine, as we grow. Now, what I'm about to say, with all of this, there's a yes and, right? So I am here because I'm here to share truth that I feel is truth, that I feel others need to hear and resonate with. I'm not here to share things I'm just going to say this once, or I'll probably say it more than once, but I'm not here to share things to criticize others or to, So something about the human condition is that it is this thing that we flip, that if someone else says something, right, we often subconsciously flip it to mean something about us, because and the thing is what I feel led to talk a lot about is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable because I know it'll make a lot of people feel uncomfortable, right? But I'm to the point where I don't care. And I don't care because something that I've heard often lately is a phrase that I really like, and it's in the acronym of HOPE, which is help one person every day. And one of the other things I feel led to do is to not be afraid to cry on camera, right? So let it flow if it comes out, but help one person every day. And something that, and well, first of all, and I would like to flip that to a yes and. I'm going to use the phrase yes and a lot. Help one person, yes, every day, right? Help one person every day, yes. And have it be yourself first. have it be yourself first. Right? And then also still help the one person, right? Because the message that people need to hear, there are plenty of messages of people pleasing. There are plenty of messages, right, of trying to live a life for someone else. But the message that people need to hear, your message, right? The most authentic message they need to hear is the message of you overcoming. Is the message of you loving yourself, and believing that you deserve that, right? Because we'll just say society, I don't like, but in society, it's hard to step out and do that. And it's because not many people do. And if the more people that do it, right, the more normalized, I guess I'm here to call for this, to call for the normalization of taking responsibility, healing ourselves. Look, like you, I've gone through so much. I've recently realized that it's funny, healing's both beautiful and it sucks. There are times where it's like, oh, wow, right? Because here's the thing. So with the message that I have to share, it's empowering, right? I use the word empowerment. It is. But it's like a lot of healing, it's painful. Because when that Band-Aid rips off, right? When the Band-Aid rips off, my dog is pulling me, anyway, when the Band-Aid rips off, and what do I mean by that? I mean, we have so much power in our own lives. The painful part is once we know that, and once we start to see things like what we allowed, like what people did to us, we realize that we allowed it. So again, here's the yes and. I think I'm here to share it's like the shadow side of healing even. And it's like, the yes and in the sense of being able to share truth, right? Just to share truth. Right? If you've been in a relationship, I mean, it's so, I am a recovering chronic people pleaser. So there's a lot of little connections to people throughout my life. We create a lot of these little connections, right? And then it's almost like with whatever we're about to say, if there's any connection to any person, it could hurt their feelings if we said it, right? We'll feel like we can't say it. So from here on out, I'm here to say I don't really care. Now, I care. I'm here to say I care, but look, I can't help teach the viewer something unless I'm embracing it, right? And it's hard. I'm not an expert at it. I'm becoming an expert at learning every day, not being the expert, right? But that's what I'm here to do. I guess to become the expert at learning a little bit more every day, right? And healing a little bit more every day. And so the thing with healing is that, and I'm just gonna say this, this is uncomfortable for people to hear. I agree, right? It's uncomfortable for me to hear. So I'm talking to me here too. I'm talking to both of us, to all of us. And I'm saying this because I am a huge advocate for health. I'm a huge advocate for hope, and to go even beyond hope. I've been thinking about the word hope. To take that a step further, like hope is it's still almost out of a lack, right? So it's instead of hope, even a knowing. I'm an advocate of like knowingness, an inner knowing that life can be good, right? And I'm here walking in the woods right now. I'm walking through weeds, through thorns, you know, and there's every day, right? I get a scratch on my leg. I'll get a couple bug bites, right? And that's the yes and. Yes, the itches. And I still was really glad I was out of nature, right? So it's like, yes. I think that we can find a joy, struggle not to use the word hope, right? But find still a sense of goodness, love, find love in the wilderness, in the shadows, in the hardest things. And here's the thing, the more you do that, I have tried so hard to do this, and a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people don't like it because same reason that, right, bugs come up around this light. Light's uncomfortable when you're in the dark, right? Right now, it's cloudy out here. It's dark. It's almost sunrise. But there's other people out here, you're comfortable with the current light level. And I come through here blasting with these lumens from my GoPro flash or my GoPro light, right? They're not going to be happy. Right, but the goal isn't just to tick them off. The goal is, right, at least in this metaphor, would be to help them know that they have lights that they can turn on too. But so often, out of a fear to offend people, we will turn off our lights. When the person who needed it the most was us, right? So, as an inspiration to others, because I feel so heavy on my heart, a desire to, a purpose to help people, to help others. And the thing is, it has to start with myself. To help myself and others realize that no matter what you've gone through, no matter what you're going through, right? Look, here's a tree that got knocked down by lightning, I think, the other day. But no matter what you've gone through or going through, there's a way forward. Like it's been my lesson to myself has been so simple, and it's been going through the hardest times that I've gone through. I ended up going into nature, going on the trail, and the simple thing was there's always a way. There either is or isn't, right? It's either like there was a moment I was hiking 2 volcanoes in Guatemala, and there was the time where I'm coming back up, right? The steep back to the base camp where it's like, oh crap, right? You have to go straight back up. And the thing is, in that moment, it's like, this is hard. And you look up and you see base camp straight up, really far away. And it's a yes and, right? Yes, it's hard. And, yes, and like right now, yes, I'm walking through cobwebs. And yes, it's possible that I have a spider on my face or something. I don't know. And I'll figure it out, right? So taking a piece of grass and using it, I'm going through thorns. Think of how many people typically now would be like, oh, there's thorns and all this, right? And want to do that. But I've gotten to like appreciate that. So it's like, even when I walk through a thorn bush, it's yes, and I can wiggle myself out of the thorns, right? Because, and just being in nature really encourages me. So I'm going to keep pushing through it, right? So healing, it really encourages me, right? Finding joy, finding hope, finding that knowingness. It's really good for me, but it's hard. It takes navigating time in the wilderness, but it's worth it. It's like that when you hike that mountain, right? When you hike that freaking volcano in Guatemala, and then you're at the top, you can just feel that freedom, feel that lightness. That it's worth it, right? And the thing is a lot of people don't want to do that climb. So they're gonna project it on you. Gonna tell you can't do it. They're gonna tell you that, oh my gosh, I cannot tell you how many, again, a yes and, right? Like going through a divorce, like a big yes and for me is love and boundaries, right? Love and boundaries. So the yes, the good part. And I'm gonna make sure I stick up for myself, right? But I don't believe we need to be jerks. I don't believe we need to trash talk our exes. I also don't believe that we should hide hurt, right? That we experience from our exes, from others. But once I started to go through a divorce, there was either like the two camps of people. There's just not a lot of really healthy people. And I'm not saying that as a criticism. I'm saying that as, I'm here to help us. I'm here to say I believe that people can be healthy, like more than, I feel like it's so easy to get so focused on, like, even with the message that I'm about to say, right, is that, people will be like, oh, well, you're saying so many of us aren't healthy. Well, what else am I saying? Yes, and, right? I'm saying that means so many more people can get healthy if we wanted to, right? And, it's not always, I'm not saying it's always a simple solution. There's definitely a place for still medicine and all of that, right? And therapy, those are all amazing tools, have their place, but healing of ourselves, and so we all carry things, right? We all do. We project them. If we don't heal them, we project them. It's gonna be natural that we do that. So the thing is once you start to get healthy, you see that stuff more. As you start to heal, as you start to, whatever language you use, right? You're using the language of vibrations, cobwebs, right? Once you raise your vibration, once you get to the higher level of thinking, higher level of consciousness, highest version of yourself, or just other ways to say that, once you just do your work through the crap, right? You heal yourself. You'll see the right, the more light I have, the more other stuff I see, the more cobwebs I see, right? That I keep walking through. And I keep turning my light on and it keeps going off. So we'll see here. Here's a log up here that I can sit on. But so often we won't do that because we're like, oh, well, we offend them. We offend them by getting healthy. So let's not get healthy. That is not okay, right? Let me rephrase that. So often, we will often not heal because when we turn on our light, it makes other people realize that they are not, that they also have room to heal. They also have room to grow. And that's uncomfortable for them. Well, guess what? That's not our problem. That's not your problem. That's not your problem. It's not my problem. Let's heal. Let's grow. Let's go, right? Let's work on our lives. And because the thing is there always will have been people that have hurt us, right? And the more you hear, the more you heal, the more people you realize hurt you. But here's the thing, in that you also realize in all of those scenarios, there was a belief that you believed about yourself, or that I believed about myself, that made that possible. And my light keeps going out. But again, part of my metaphor is there's always a way forward, right? So I have a headlamp, so I'm going to use the headlamp to replace my flash. There's always a way forward. So I'm at the point now where I don't care anymore, but like my insane positivity has really annoyed people in the past because I've refused to fall in that woe is me, like the world sucks, everything is going to hell in a handbasket, right? Because it's not. I mean, like, if you say that, it's an excuse for not healing. It's an excuse for not doing the work. So regardless of how many weeds are out here at any given point, I can start picking up weeds. I just can. That's also true, right? It's real simple. Like, life isn't as complicated as we make it sometimes. And again, being in the wilderness, like I've expected at any given point, sure, I could see a bear, I could see a fox, I could see a snake, and I've done all those things. I've seen all those things. And, but the more you do that, right, the more experience you have with that. And, but there's also so much good out here, right? So much amazing experience. And I believe that about life. I believe that about life. Regardless of how much I've been hurt. And it's hard. Friends, it's hard, friends. I'm not gonna lie. But what's the alternative? Right? The alternative is believing that the rest of life can't be better. And I refuse to believe that. So just like on that volcano, it became black and white. I either figure out how to move up the mountain, right? Because in that scenario, there was what they call scree, like your boots sink like every 6 minutes or every 6 inches, or I mean, they sink like 6 inches. So it's annoying. You feel like you're wasting energy, right? Yes, and, right? I absolutely was. But here's the thing. Unless I wasted the energy, quote unquote, right? And kept going the path that was harder than it should have been. Well, guess what? In that scenario, there was only the harder than it should be route up that volcano. Or there's the stay where I was route. Period. It was that simple. And look, that was like the last 3 years of my life. There's a lot of things that, look, because of other people who we can't control, right? There are things that be like, that shouldn't, we use the phrase, it shouldn't be this hard or whatever. But in what scenario? In what scenario should it not be that hard? In the scenario that, right now my dog is pulling me under a log. Smokey, you need to go under the log. There we go. All right, now Smokey, you need to jump over the log. There we go. Right, even right there, I just had to be patient and let the situation figure itself out. So, in what scenario? Answer that question. To me, it's a hypothetical question, I guess. In what scenario? In what scenario should it be easier? Our own head, right? Look, and with my ex-partner, right? I can't tell you how many times initially it should just be simple to sit, have a cup of coffee, talk all of this through. It shouldn't need to be a legal process. It shouldn't. According to who? Sorry. Epic cobweb, right? I've got something to share, people. Come on, cobwebs. I'm trying to share something good here. Oh, and I'm carrying a blanket with my other hand. So I'm gonna need to get something to knock through the cobwebs. Right? According to who? According to me. According to me. In my head. Right? And cobwebs. Cobwebs. So this is the thing, guys. In life, like even right now, I could talk about how how uncomfortable it is to have cobwebs. Well, then I could stay at home, right? I could be in my house doing this video. It's less cool. Or I could be out here and I could accept it all, including the cobwebs. And that's the thing. It's like, we're here. We're in life, right? It's either not be here, and that should never be a choice, right? No, there's goodness. There's always a way. I feel that my message to share is there is always a way. No matter how dark it is, there's always a way. Here's the thing, the way might be hard, right? Like my dog just jumped over the log. The way might be hard. I'm not here to say that the ways are easy. The way is probably gonna be hard. At first. Because look, my first race, my calves, like, they were destroyed, right? My calves now, they're freaking beasts, right? So, at first, everything is hard at first. Freaking walking was hard at first. So it gets to the point, like, all this stuff to me now is so simple to where it's like, but it sometimes seems so simple and now in my mind, and I don't want to share it because to other people it won't be simple and it'll offend them or whatever. And at this point, I don't care, because if someone needs to hear it, someone needs to hear it. And that's that. At the end of the day, there's always a way forward, right? Worst case, we go out trying. How many times, right, does someone die because they tried to get through a hard situation? Never, like, hardly, right? So there's always a way forward. It's just uncomfortable. It's just uncomfortable. We don't like that. I get it. I get it. Me doing this video, uncomfortable. But I made a promise to myself. I made a promise to myself to start trusting my inner voice, that gut feeling of what do I need to do? And I know that right now I need to simply share openly. I've had this inside of me to some degree most of my life. I remember standing at a mirror in a church basement when I was a kid, talking to the mirror. And thing is once again, I went around seeking validation of my message, but guess what my message was, right? I realized that even from a kid, my message was that we all just had to take responsibility of our stuff. and grow. And guess what? People don't like that message. Right? So this journey, it can be a lonely journey at first, right? Everything is at first, right? It can hurt at first. So you develop those muscles. Same thing, it can hurt in terms of not having people. So, because look, people will change, or people will go, or you'll go. Or there'll be at least the inner circle changes. And it doesn't mean you don't like those other people, or it doesn't mean that, look, loving yourself, loving others, doing anything for anyone else because you care for them in a way that is not in alignment with your highest self, that is not good for you, that is toxic. I will say that every day. It is toxic. It is toxic, whether it's an employer, whether it's a spouse, right? It's toxic to have to do something that's hurtful to yourself to make someone else feel good, to even if it's to make them feel respected or whatever. If it, you know what I mean? Like if it's truly hurtful to you and to who you are. And there's always a way forward. It might be uncomfortable, right? There's always a way forward. We just don't want to always talk about what the way forward might be, because in a toxic relationship, the way forward might be, right? Like couples therapy. And in situations that I may or may not have gone through, right? That then there's a situation where the other person might not want to go, or might not go. And then what? Right? Then what? And so on the other side of things, right, I'm realizing I allowed, emotional abuse, and I incurred pain. But it was also because I didn't leave, right? I wanted it to work out, right? And not just that situation, but anything, a lot of other things in life. I wanted what was best for the other people involved. And what I realized, that level of thinking is toxic. So toxic people pleasing, because, and again, I'm getting to the point where I'm realizing so much. I'm like, this is so simple, right? It's almost like, when I start to think it's simple, I feel like surely it must not be. So I'm not going to say it, but we love others like we love ourselves. A lot of us don't love ourselves. And then if we don't love ourselves, if we're hurt and we haven't healed our hurt, we hurt people. We throw out those hurt bombs. We throw out those trauma bombs, right? So look, we all have them. We all have hurt. We all have pain. But we each only have the decision that we each have, right? We each can control only what we can control. And we can continue to talk about that to others. But something I've realized a lot in terms of these newer concepts of, manifestation and mindset is you attract what you are, and you get more of what you focus on. get more of what you focus on. When all of us, not all of us, right? It was annoying. Just like as it was annoying when I shine my light, when I choose to be positive. It's annoying to me when most everyone goes around complaining about life, complaining about how bad it is and everything else. And what I've realized, right, whether it's related to manifestation or like there's all these new words for things, but look, manifestation's not new. I mean, in the Bible, there's a verse that says, like, when you pray, like, pray as if it's already been done, Like, have that level of confidence. And then it says some pretty harsh words if you don't do that, right? It's like double-mindedness and all this. So, I got to a point where I just started choosing to focus more on what I wanted more of. And doing that stubbornly, whether I was in the middle of the woods or whether I was laid off from a job or whether I incurred a ton of legal bills, right, for a divorce process that I didn't think should have happened like that. Look, all along the way, and again, in any of what I share, it's never to bash anyone else. But I'm also done with hiding the whole story, right? Other people can own their stuff. Other people can own their stuff. I own my stuff, right? So I'm done hiding stuff to not be able to tell the real story. Because I'm sharing that to encourage those of you out there that don't feel like you can yes and, right? Yes, we can share that we've experienced narcissistic abuse. And it's not about the other person. It's about our healing, right? We can say that we experienced abuse from an ex-partner in different ways. Like, we could say, oh, but it's toxic to it's toxic to not heal. It's toxic to not talk about things. Let's talk about that, right? Like growing up in past relationships, I just want healing. I just want to move forward. And as the person who just wants to move forward, when you get around certain people, becomes painful. And when you're the one willing to do anything to move forward, right? And then other people aren't, what happens, they start to pivot that, put it on you. And I'm just saying that factually here, to not bash them, but to say that that's their way of coping. I'm here to empower you, here to empower me, to say, sure, it might be their way of coping. Yes, and, right? And you don't have to put up with it. You do not have to put up with it. I'm here to call BS. I'm here to call BS on the fact that when the people want to heal, the people who choose to heal, people who choose to take responsibility, the people who choose to start to move forward, make other people uncomfortable, and those people flip it on us, on you. Don't take the blame. Just find the door, right? Find healing, therapy, whatever, or just prioritize you. So the way forward, the thing is the way forward is uncomfortable. The way forward, once you start to really see that you can always choose health, choose that higher vibration, that higher path. It's like this fence, right? If I'm going to walk up on the top of this fence and there's people on the floor, if there's a mountain, right? I love mountain metaphors. If think of it this way, if you're in a group of people, I really want to go to the summit, right? And other people don't. There's two options. They need to be willing to train, do the work to get to the summit. Or I go without them, right? Or like I said, I train them, drag them with me. Or I choose to stay with them. Notice what I said. I said I choose to stay with them. So I'm here to also call BS on the victim language, because now look, I won't say BS, right? But like, per se, I don't know. See, the political correctness thing, you know? But I'm just here to say that there's another way to look at it. So I'm never here to say that what you feel isn't valid or that what you went through isn't valid. I don't completely understand it. There's a lot of darkness, right, in this world. I've traveled. I've seen it. I've seen things. I've felt things. I'm an empath. I'm an empath, and I've been to the Holocaust Museum. I'm an empath, and I've been to the Genocide Museum in Rwanda. Right? I'm an empath, and I've walked through squatter camps in South Africa. I've walked through, areas of low income in the U.S., but also areas of low income in Rwanda and Peru. Right? I've seen it. It's also in those very same communities. For example, I've seen the biggest love I've ever seen. Right? So, yes, and there's always love. There's always a way forward. And it's uncomfortable. And it can be lonely. And it can mean leaving people at the bottom of the mountain while they say you're that mean person who left them at the mountain, bottom of the mountain, right? Thank you for sharing your perspective. I've had a lot of experience looking up response phrases to narcissists, right? Because it's not about the battle. It's about how do I move forward? Literally, all I want to do in life is move forward and help other people move forward. All I want to do in life is move forward and help other people move forward, right? Have my own light. Help other people find their own light. And look, just because this little light, right? There's times where there's going to be more darkness than the light, and that's okay, right? But I'm still hanging on to my light. And I've stubbornly chosen that. And by stubbornly choosing that, something I wasn't willing to do in the past was to accept that would cause people in my life to leave or not be able to be involved in the same way. And it needs to be okay. It needs to be okay to choose myself in that circumstance. Because when we do that, man, there's so much that's healthy about it, right? When we do that, we heal. It's just good. It's good, right? But it's not just good for me. It's not just good for you. Because the healthiest version of you, quite frankly, is the healthiest version for other people, right? The healthiest version of you is, I'm climbing up on a fence right now. The healthiest version of you is good not only for you, but it's what the world needs. It's because when you're healthy, look, I so wish the world was different, right? I so wish we had a different scenario. But we don't, right? We're in the world that has narcissists. We're in the world that has, right, times where you need to go through a 10-hour mediation day to get what you feel like wasn't really much of agreement. And there are days where you feel like you need to hike up a volcano and your feet keep sinking and you don't feel like they should have kept sinking. Okay? In what scenario, right? Because we're in a world where things don't... That was actually pretty perfect. Right when my battery died, it cut off right as I was saying that life doesn't always go like we plan, right? That's when my GoPro battery died. When I was just last shooting, that was actually yesterday by now. Here to finish this out by saying, look, what if I told you that that's the good news? Because, look, I've lived so much of my life with the pressure of if I could only, get the right things done, if I could only just figure out what the right thing is to do, if I could just get the circumstances to be like they're supposed to be, right? And then getting into the outdoors, getting into backpacking, hiking, now trail running, right? You can plan everything out. I have a coach, I have a daily training plan and everything, right? But something I love about my training is my coach and I use something called RPE, which is called rate of perceived exertion. And look, I invite you to use this in your life, right? Because what that means is perceived in that moment, right? So, for example, I have a 3.5 hour run today. And I'm going to do some like meditation and like Kundalini yoga right before it. Get in touch with my mind, my body, my soul, right? And then I'm gonna give it my best from that point. I'm gonna run for 3.5 hours still, right? But as the person I am in that moment, because that is reality. And ignoring reality, is not good. It's not great, right? I mean, I'll tell you what, if I ignore reality in my training and I overtrain, I'm just gonna delay whatever I'm fighting, right? That if I don't wanna go slower in today's training and I just push past it, it's gonna show up my next training, or worst case, at the race. Right? But by facing each current reality, like, okay, I'll figure out how to still train today. I check in with my coach. I'll let him know that it's from a point of being a little tired, but I'm honest with that, and I get good sleep tonight, and I show up again tomorrow, right? If I ever have to miss a day of training because I'm sick or whatever, right? I've been tempted to make it up, but it's like, no, show up now. Like, what would it look like if we let go of all I should have had this done by now, and we just show up right now? We realize that life will never go as we plan. And then we take that as the good news. Because here's the thing. One of the most misunderstood things I think about manifestation is this. Well, a couple things, right? As I've said before, we attract what we are. We get more of what we focus on. And, but here's the other thing. We further embody whatever mindset we have. So what does that mean? It means being able to have an abundance mindset, even when from the outside it looks like you hardly have anything, right? And in the sense that you choose. It's all a choice, people. It's all a choice. You choose to believe that anything that is happening to you is for you. For you, not to you, for you. Because here's the thing. If you flip from being in a victim mindset to being in an empowered, self-directed, operating out of the awesomeness of who you are, and regardless of what you view the source, but like out of what's been put in you, right? By God, by the universe, by energy, right? Whatever you view it as, that uniqueness, that spark in you and me, right? Be able to say, I wonder what that's gonna do the new ingredients, the new gifts that I was just given, right? And that might be a temporarily toxic situation, or whatever it might be, or it might be a new financial challenge in our lives, or it might be something didn't go the way we wanted it to, or your camera cut off right as you were shooting your video, right? Or even as I was editing all of this, right? I had issues with that process of editing this very video. But then by getting to start over, I was able to add this music and think like, oh, okay, what's a new way I can use this situation to make it better, right? And it's at the point where we get excited about life. When my coach uses the phrase, you know, when I first talked to him about one of my first races, like, hey, I just want to verbalize what I'm feeling. There's a lot of feelings. I'm wanting to not do it. And like, what is all this, right? And he was like, well, I just encourage you to reframe that as excitement. What if you reframe nerves and anxiety as excitement? And the same thing when we face a new circumstance, even if it's difficult. Because here's the thing, now I get excited. I'm choosing to try to get excited, right? It's not always easy. It's not always easy. I'm choosing to try to get excited because now I'm like, okay, I'm a new person. I believe I'm a new person. I've done the work. I've changed my mindset. I can't wait to see what I'm gonna do with this situation, right? When it's like, oh, I have a 3.5 hour run before my kids get here tomorrow. And there's things related I wanna do still for self-care. And before I start my week off, and right, all of that, I wonder what I'm gonna do with all that, right? I wonder how this circumstance, by me surrendering to the reality of it, loving myself, giving myself grace and permission to be in the circumstances in my life the way it is now, every moment. What if you gave yourself that permission? Let go of I should have this, I should have that. No, I mean, says who? Says who? Right? Show me one person who has ever done everything perfect. And what is perfect, right? So once you accept that, it's like, oh, every single person is in this glorious, perfectly imperfect mess. By accepting that and letting go from the point of constantly flailing our arms, trying to control the chaos, you can become that person who all of a sudden lets go, takes a deep breath, kind of rises to the surface, and then you kind of discover a surfboard. Or you can pick your metaphor, right? And then you start to ride the chaos. You start to ride all of that. You can rise above it. And there's little hacks to that, right? Just by looking for something to be thankful for in that moment. Or anytime you feel like you're fighting something, here's something I try to do. Anytime you're trying to fight something, it ain't gonna work, right? So even when I'm getting frustrated, or like I'm pushing so hard with editing a video or whatever it might be, is just, even for 5 minutes, go do something different. Meditation, listen to a song. Choose to just be alive, right? Practice just being alive, being grateful, living. Because any circumstance, it's just one thing you're doing at that moment in life. One thing. So ask yourself, am I in alignment? Am I in alignment with being alive? Because what I realize is like, that's why I love getting out in nature so much. And like, I'll just get out in nature and like pick something off with like a plant and just touch it. Like, am I being alive right now? Whatever else I'm dealing with, right? It still needs to get done, right? I'm not saying we don't pretend all that, like, but ironically, by letting go, we see the next step. We actually do better editing the video. We actually do better at work, right? By not making it the focus, by making you the focus, by making me the focus, by making life, being alive the focus, being in sync with that, taking time for that, right? There's I heard like there's the title of this book, right? It's called, I think, Too Busy Not to Pray. So the same sort of thing. It's like the busier you are, the more you need to be anchored, the more you need to be still, because then it's out of that you know what to do, right? I mean, think of any tree out here, anything in nature that would try to deny something about its environment. Like, no, I'm not in Tennessee, I'm in Arizona. So I'm not going to take the water that's coming from the sky right now, right? No, the beautiful thing about nature is it embraces everything in the moment and it uses it for good. It uses it for growth. So really, there's two types of people. There's the people who fight life, who push off things that come to them, or only do well when things go well. Which, if that's you, let me know how that's going for you. I've been there, right? Like, so with that, it's tempted. What we fall into the trap of is then trying to create those good situations. And there's all the how-tos to get those good situations. And they're all out there. And I guess I'll use this to distinguish me of like what's different about me is even with manifestation and all of that, right? Like, or something better, something like I love it in terms of for manifesting, right? But also with that, it's not about the end goal, because here's the thing. For that to really work, you need to be at peace. You need to view abundance in your life already and not lack and not chasing, but gratitude, right? That's the secret. If you see the people and you're like, how the heck, all that stuff coming, it's ironically the people who care less about the stuff, right? Because it's believing that things are working out for you, choosing to view life as an adventure, right? As an adventure, but instead of like, because when I was backpacking with my kids or on that volcano or in a race and I run out of water, I could choose to panic or I could choose to pause, or maybe even mentally. There's times where I still keep moving, right? But I'm like, I'm grateful. I am so grateful. My legs still work. That's a win. I'm not struck by lightning. That's a win. I know I can figure this out, and I am so thankful that I'm gonna see a unique situation. I just am so grateful that I'm even running. I'm so grateful that I'm even alive today, right? Abundance. I'm just so blessed, right? Even though I feel like, I'm struggling with this thing financially, or I'm struggling with this thing emotionally, I'm so blessed. There are so many other people in the world that would probably give anything to be where I am right now. And then from that moment, now, what am I gonna do right now, right? If I'm stressed, let's focus on that. There have been times where I was running in the woods. I still had a lot more running to do in the woods, but I saw a fox or whatever it was in the dark, and it was scary, right? So it's like, yes, I can keep pushing, and I can't ignore what I feel. So I found a way to get off the trail, and I was able to find like a light, get near the light, and I just took a minute. I was like, look, I'm fine. There was that fear, if I go back on the trail, what if I see the fox again or whatever? What if it wasn't a fox? What was a coyote? Well, first of all, I've seen coyotes too, and they're fine. But anyway, so it's like well, I'll be fine. But I am a little anxious right now, and that's okay. But I know I have tools. Right? So that's the empowerment thing. It's not just pushing past it all or ignoring that it's not there. It's learning to be able to eventually, like, my goal is to help people like not need me or anyone else, right? But at the same point, I know I need some people sometimes, right? There are times where we just need someone to vent, someone to process with, someone to be alongside, right? So whether it's through one-on-one or group programs or a virtual or in-person event or retreat, stuff that I'm going to be doing and that I'm already doing, right? The things that I'm trying to provide is a place where you, as that solo journeyer, right, can show up to not feel crazy, be encouraged, and maybe at that moment you're little disoriented, right? And you can run into some other people, and like myself, who've been down paths like that, and you can say your scenario, and you can have someone respond back to you of like, hey, you know what? I've been there, right? And then not to tell you what to do, but to be able to say, look, in my situation, in my scenario, here's what I did. And then by being open, right, you could hear what I said or hear what someone else maybe in the group or at the retreat said. And then you can say, oh, okay, that makes me actually sort of think that for me, I could maybe do this, right? So the key thing is not looking for the answer. That was me most of my life. Every self-help book, every coach, mentor, I've had them all. And that's not what I want to be for you, for anyone, like in terms of that person to give you the solution. Because here's the thing. You know, I don't know if you have experienced this, but for me, I have been there, right? Where it's like you look for the gear, the maps and all of that. And then you get out in reality, you're like, this ain't gonna work, right? Like I've had people say, well, why don't you use my t-shirt or whatever? It was like, well, if I'm going for like several days in the mountains, you better believe I'm gonna have synthetic fabrics, right? Like my journey requires certain things, right? And your journey requires certain things. And there is no one size fits all in terms of the solution. But there is a way that we can each approach it in such a way that empowers ourselves to become our own guide, to become the person who can trust ourselves and our intuition enough, and heal enough, and get to the point that we can feel, look, if a storm cloud comes through right now, I'm good, right? I'm good. Because I know, and I've gotten to the point that trying to control anything will only hurt me. And I actually have gotten to the point of learning to really love me and want to do what's best for me. Because also when I do what's best for me, that's actually best for my kids and for others. And then you just gain this new grounded centeredness to where you realize at any given point, the main key is just not getting shaken, not falling off the freaking mountain, but learning to stay calm and learning to view that anything that could be a barrier could actually be a bridge. Any new conflict, right, could actually be something to be curious about. Any new thing that looks like it's a block, right, that it's something that's in your way, right, it actually could be there is a clue. I wonder now how that could be a clue as I approach this today. What unique, amazing perspective I'm gonna see, and I choose to be thankful. I choose to be happy and thankful to approach this. Universe, God, I thank you that you're showing me how to approach whatever I'm facing today with grace and ease. Life is working for me, not against me. I love my journey and I'm alive, and I love to be alive, right? If that's the type of life that you want to live, right? That's what I want for you. That's what I want for me. That's the type of vibe you're gonna hear from me on throughout any of my content. If you hop on a workshop or a master class or a group session, or you want to just chat with me one-on-one, like that's the vibe you're gonna get from me. You know, you got this, right? But we benefit from learning from each other, right? That first backpacking trip, I saw someone else bear hanging, and I went in there thinking, yeah, I got this, but not I got this in terms of I don't need help. I got this of believing I'm gonna attract whatever I need to get through this. And that was watching someone else bear hang, right? So guys, I've bear hung. I've been through all of this. And the thing is I've been through the trauma, the healing, and all of that while transitioning jobs, while starting businesses, while being a parent, juggling life's responsibilities. So I get that. And it takes an art to do that. A lot of people will not appreciate how complex it is. So sometimes it's just helpful to have someone else who appreciates that. And I get that. I will never say that I know exactly what your situation is, but I'll be like, dude, I know it. There are days where it is hard. So let's just talk about what to do in that moment. And something can always fall, right? Something is always not as important, right? If you're in a thunderstorm on a mountain at 14,000 feet, right? You know, what bar you're gonna be eating at that moment or what flavor it is, all of a sudden doesn't matter, right? So the key thing is in that moment, just deciding what matters and knowing that you're always enough. You are always enough for whatever really matters in that moment. And above anything else, guys, girls, ladies, friends, it's always about loving yourself. Because look, in that moment, if loving yourself gets you fired, if loving yourself gets you out of a relationship, you'll figure it out. It's probably not, right? Most times, but there's that fear. And the thing is, just do what you need for you in that moment, right? Even if it's telling your kids, you just need 5 minutes. There's times where, like, I've taught my kids to speak up for what they need, but it also allows me to speak up for what I need. and be able to say, look, I love you. What do you need for a few minutes for me to go have some hammock minutes? Because that's what Papa needs right now. Not to be afraid to speak up for what you need. Hear yourself, get attuned to yourself, and sync with yourself enough to start to know what you need. And then that becomes your only question. You eventually get to the point where you don't care what life brings you, because you know that as long as you give yourself what you'll need, you'll be prepared. Right? Like right now, I just found an amazing little blackberry. Right? I attract what I would need right now. I'm a little snacky. I'll find some berries along the way. The thing is, by loving the journey, so much of life, so many gurus out there, training programs, all this, right? It's about how to create this perfect life. But what I'm about, what my philosophy is, personally and professionally, right, is helping people love themselves, be anchored in reality with an incredible amount of knowingness that love, that light, that positivity can still be there. You can find some great berries along the way, you know what I'm saying? And it's about how to practice being present in the journey and saying, like, no matter what happened today, would I be ready, right? And practice those techniques, those things, and rehearse things in your mind. Rehearse being ready in the unknown. Think about how you're living this new life in the unknown. Sure, you have some things you think you might do, but regardless if things come up, when things come up, I get creative. That invites new situations, right? That takes the ceiling off your life. It turns from life from something you have to endure to something you get to explore, to something you get to explore. With that said, follow and subscribe for more. Enjoy your journey. I send you love. I send you love, light, encouragement, friendship. Look, I'm here to be a friend in the journey, to help however I can. And I believe that I attract the people I'm supposed to work with and the people who are supposed to hear my message. Whatever way you engage with me, welcome. And I value you. I value your journey. I value your life. And I celebrate you. I validate whatever you feel. I validate however you're healing. And I validate your ability to validate yourself, right? And know that you got this. Y'all, we were made for this. We were made for the wilderness. We were made to, I feel like Western society or whatever, right? It gets us so much used to like seeing what the solutions are, away from the fact that getting back to our roots, guess what? We were the solution. We'd go out in the woods, we'd figure out what to eat, right? All this other stuff is a blessing. Sure, it can make it easier, but it's not meant to replace the fact that we are wired to be our own solution. So you got this. You literally have anything that you could ever face. And every piece of content, anything that I try to offer or do will be reinforcing that, okay? And so I've, whether it's my future podcast or other things that you can engage with me in doing and like one-on-one or group stuff and programs, but it's all going to be about that. And it's going to be about just helping you be reminded that life is a beautiful mess. So that any given point, no matter how hard your day is, you're like, oh yeah, this is normal. This is normal. Not feeling like you know what to do, guess what? That's normal. But what if that becomes the awesome thing? Like, oh, cool, here's an opportunity where I get to practice muscles that most of the world stopped practicing, and that's figuring out what the heck to do on my own. Your curiosity muscle. The more you use that, the more it grows. Because then guess what? That curiosity muscle goes from whatever you're currently facing to then I wonder how I could make banking more money. Wonder how I could be happier. Wonder how my relationship could be more fulfilling. Or I wonder how I could get in a new relationship in the future. Be open to that as a heal. Right? So it's that openness. I encourage you and I invite you to be open. Stay open. Stay curious. And choose to believe that there is always a way to move forward with grace, with ease, with gratitude. And when life starts hitting you hard, just sit down on the ground for a minute and thank yourself for how strong you are. Thank God, the universe, for how strong you've become. And then make sure that you got the right gear on, right? And then ask yourself what you're going to do next. but always check in with yourself. Make sure you feel loved. Make sure you feel valued. Make sure you feel accepted from yourself. And then I promise you, you'll know what to do next. You will make it one step at a time. And then you'll love it. You'll love it. You'll love getting from the perspective of that life is this grueling thing to endure, that it's this glorious adventure you get to explore. Cheers. Journey on, my friends.